Have you ever noticed that when a group of people are talking, it can easily turn negative? The conversation that people have can easily evolve to focus on things that we don't like and what is wrong in the environment or at work or in the world. I'm sure you've noticed that online and in television news, it's mainly focused on negative things. And maybe you've even noticed in yourself that you can easily focus more on the negative than on the positive elements of your work and your life. There's a reason for this. The primary job of your brain is to stay alive. As human beings, we have a negative default because our brain is naturally attuned to finding and rooting out any potential threat in our environment. It's a survival instinct. Unfortunately, it's an instinct that can easily create what psychologists call cognitive distortions. A cognitive distortion is an exaggerated thought that isn't based on fact. Now, we've all had them, and they can cause some serious problems in our lives, in our work, and in our relationships. I remember giving what I was sure was an awful presentation a few years ago. I ruminated on it all afternoon and then all night long. I slept terribly. The distortion had buried me in embarrassment and anxiety for nearly 24 hours. It wasn't until the next day that someone came up to me and complimented me. And I had asked the person, "Are you being serious? Are you being truthful? Or are you just being nice to me?" And they said yes, and they told me what they liked about the presentation. And I was finally released at that point from this thought pattern as this person helped me shift my thinking and escape from that distortion. You see, cognitive distortions occur when we don't see things as they truly are, and we allow our brain to turn the truth of a situation into a negative narrative. It then spirals into beliefs about ourselves and about the world around us. As we let these distortions go unchecked, it can lead to negative emotions and moods and behaviors that then cause even further problems. So here's the good news. When you understand how the brain works and what distortions can actually occur, then you can take the steps necessary to identify it and then redirect your thoughts and your behaviors, leading to a more positive outcome. So here are a few of the common cognitive distortions that we as people experience. The first one is one we're all familiar with, and that is jumping to conclusions, where we prematurely determine an outcome or reasoning for something that occurs. Here's another one, assuming the worst. And this is thinking the worst possible outcome will occur in a situation. There's also a thing called black and white thinking. This is an all or nothing type of thinking, viewing situations in binary terms. Then there's catastrophizing, and that's where we blow things out of proportion. We make problems much worse than what they really are. Overgeneralization is another one, and this is seeing negative events as a recurring pattern. It's going to happen again. What I experienced last time is going to happen again. Comparison is another one. This is where we're comparing parts of ourselves to another person, and it causes a negative self-evaluation. And then minimizing or disqualifying. And this is attributing our successes or accomplishments to luck rather than our own hard work or talent or skill or ability. And then there's a negative mental filter. And this is chronically finding the negative elements of events and situations. Victimhood, that's another one. Seeing oneself as a victim and others as perpetrators. And then mind reading. We've all been guilty of this one, right? Thinking you know what another person is thinking, feeling, or going to say. And finally, there is emotional reasoning. And this is when we only use emotion to understand and evaluate a situation. Now, these aren't all the cognitive distortions, but these are a few of the most popular ones. As a psychologist and an executive coach, I find cognitive distortions to be a major contributor to low motivation, stress, poor feelings of well-being, and also lower confidence. And I find it manifests in a leader's sense of control and agency, leading to lower levels of focus, engagement, and performance. So the question then is how can we avoid distortion? So here are a few of the many methods that we can use. These are just a few of the popular techniques that you can actually put into practice immediately. The first one is awareness. So congratulations, you have completed the first step in avoiding cognitive distortions and becoming more positive. So this first step really is knowing what it is, watching videos, reading articles about it, and becoming more aware of this phenomenon. So now that you feel like you have a sense of awareness of this negative default and these cognitive distortions, we want to kind of take the next step forward with this, and that is to think about our thinking. Take 2 or 3 moments each day to reflect on your thinking. Ask yourself if you have been more positive than negative that day or in the past few hours. Then evaluate what distortions may have occurred due to your negative thinking. Another thing that you can do is to catch yourself when you are thinking negative, or you're having some type of negative behavior, or you're saying or talking and speaking in more negative terms. This takes time, and at the beginning, you will miss most of those opportunities to stop yourself and say, wait a second, I'm being negative. But over time, you're going to get better at it. You'll begin to reflect on it. You'll begin to kind of trigger yourself and know, oh, I'm being negative here. And then you're going to be able to stop yourself and say, I want to be more positive here. The next thing that you can do is using cognitive reframing. And this is shifting your thinking or mindset to see a situation from a different or more positive perspective. So you stop and ask yourself, how can I see this situation differently? Or how can I see this situation more positively? You could even ask yourself a more specific question like, how can I turn this situation into something more positive and not give it the power to ruin my day? This will help you look at it from a different perspective, and it'll also help you take this from being an all-out bad thing and negative thing to finding or pulling out some of the positive attributes about it. So the third thing that you can do is really manage your self-talk. So how we talk to ourselves is a very common way of beating ourselves up with cognitive distortion. When we see things from a negative point of view, we can easily fall into the trap of saying negative things to ourselves. And then that causes us to be more negative. So identifying your negative self-talk and then intentionally replacing that talk with more positive words is a start. Many studies show that the more we're able to do this, it's not easy at the beginning, but even if we kind of force it along, we say things that we're might sure we kind of completely agree, but the more that we say it, the more that we actually believe it. Our brain begins to process it and then take it seriously. And this will lead to higher levels of positivity and more positive neurochemistry as well. So this really is a way that you can reverse the cycle of negative self-talk. Finally, the last one I'll share with you in this video is gratitude. And gratitude literally rewires your brain to be happier and more healthy. Studies have found that taking time to think about the good things in our lives, it leads to better mood, it leads to greater well-being, and also reduced depression and anxiety and better relationships. Also, one study showed that we perform at a higher level at work. So let me talk brain science with you here for just a moment, and let's dive just a little bit deeper into the neuroscience here. The limbic system is situated in your brain, and it's in the middle area of your brain, and it's really responsible for emotional encounters. It's comprised of the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the cingulate gyrus. Now, the research indicates that the hippocampus and the amygdala, which is the primary center for governing emotions and memory and body functions, it becomes engaged when we experience gratitude. And scientists have also discovered that when this part of the brain is more active, that it actually becomes more sensitive over time. In essence, what's happening is that we begin to see life's events from a gratitude perspective. It's like we put on these gratitude glasses, this lens of life where we see things from a more grateful perspective. So what we need to do then is take the time to be grateful. Take the time to think through the things that we are thankful for in our lives. And the more that we do it, the more positive we'll actually be, the more positive our brain default will become. Well, I hope these things are helpful. Our human negative default, it's real. It's natural. Holding this survival method in check seems to be one of the major keys to being happier, to living a more happy and fulfilling life. And when you understand how your brain works and you become more intentional about how to control your thinking, you take full control of your emotions, of your behaviors, and of your life. And this can be a significant step in your self-development and being your best in work and in life. I hope this video was helpful. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell so you get my updated videos as well. Have a great day.